as was the case just about the whole time the apostles were with Jesus. They were way behind him in understanding what he was saying and doing. And I have heard, actually, people, even preachers, speak with a little, I can't think of the word, I don't want to, not too strong a word, but a little, maybe making fun of them or something. But I can't imagine how you could really understand what Jesus was doing most of the time and saying. And here he is talking about leaving. It doesn't appear that they really understood what that meant, returning to the Father. And they ask this question that to us may seem a little bit odd. So are you going to restore Israel now? Restore the kingdom? And first, it's good for us to understand what this question means. The Jews expected the Messiah, when the Messiah came, to do three things. And one of them was to restore the kingdom again. Put a king back on the throne. Establish Israel as a nation again. In other words, free it from the rule of Rome. And so it was, and I don't want to spend a lot of time with where that is and the prophets and all that, but that's one of the expectations that they had of the Messiah. And so they had come to believe, as Peter confessed, that Jesus was the Messiah, the Holy One of God. And so here he is thinking about leaving, so it's like, well, okay, so before you leave, are you going to do this, reestablish Israel as a nation, And Jesus' answer, as, again, most of his answers in the gospel, as far as I can tell, didn't really answer their questions, and didn't explain anything. What he says basically is, you take care of what you're supposed to do. Go back to Jerusalem, wait until you're clothed with power, and then you go about what you're supposed to do. And it was this week, it was kind of odd. The image that kept coming to me, and so I gave in finally. I said, okay, I'll use that image, was a golfing image. And what Jesus does, he leaves, and what he tells them, you take care of what you're supposed to do here, but they have an idea of that eventually they will end up with him in eternal life. And one of my golfing books, I don't know, it was like one of these novels or something, I can't remember now. I couldn't find it again. But as the narrator talks about the golf shot, I think it was one of the books that was made into a movie, but he talks about that golfers play to a memory. And so if you play golf at all, or if you have ever watched golf, you'll see that you first, before you stand to the ball and address the ball, you stand behind it. And most golfers look down and they see where they want the ball to go. And then they have this imaginary line in their head from the place where they want it to go to the ball. And most pros will tell you then you pick a spot, a couple feet, whatever, in front, so between where you want to go and the ball. Because you can't stand here and while you're swinging and have that in your eye, right? You can have that right there. And if you can hit the ball that on the line, it'll go the rest of the way. In other words, we are headed somewhere, but you can't keep this distant thing always in front of you, you know. So, spiritually speaking, we have a job to do, right? What Jesus says. There are two ways, it seems to me, that we keep on this line to Jesus. One is by doing whatever it is that He's given us to do, and that's a matter of finding vocation, whatever, you know, in our prayer comes to us that Jesus wants us to do with our lives. The other thing, it seems to me, is the virtues. For instance, you know, Jesus is the truth, right? That's what He says, calls Himself. And you remember in the end of Philippians, the letter to the Philippians, Paul has this beautiful little passage. You know, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, keep these things in mind, you know. If there's anything of excellence, keep it in mind. And so, it seems to me, as long as we stay, as long as we tell the truth, stay in the truth, so to speak, as long as we live true lives, you know, that's what's right in front of us. Like, whatever is, you know, this day or this hour or this minute, whatever, as long as I'm telling the truth, I'll stay in line with the truth, you know. But pick any virtue you want, you know. Patience. If I strive to be patient in this moment, in the next moment, whatever, I'll stay in line with Jesus. Because we know the vices pull us out of line, away, you know. So impatience or lies or whatever, any kind of dishonesty or sins of the flesh, and all these things pull us away from the line, you know. And we won't reach Jesus by living the vices. We'll reach Him by living the virtues. And if you think about the saints, one of the reasons, it seems to me, that we have so many saints is that there are so many paths to Jesus. If you look at the saints, yeah, they live the virtues, but they generally seem to be known for one particular thing or a group of things. One, you know, we have saints that spent their lives in charity, you know, spent their lives serving the poor or taking care of the sick or whatever, you know. Some were great teachers, some were great preachers, some were great theologians, whatever. Some were like Gianna Mola, you know, a mother who heroically gave her life so that her baby could be born. Things like that. And so we all have, yes, all the virtues should attract us. We should at whatever appropriate time, live them. But it seems to me that often we're called in one direction in particular, maybe. And as long as we pick whatever virtues or whatever things we seem to be called to, as long as we stay with those and shoot for those all the time, we can imagine that line going all the way out and it reaches Jesus. But we don't really play to a memory so much, as he was saying. We have that spot in our memory and we shoot to try to get to it. Ours isn't a memory so much, but a hope. And as the author to the Hebrews says, Jesus has opened up a new and living way to the Father. And our hope is in heaven now. I prayed the wrong collect, sorry about that, but the collect I wanted to pray was talked about that the body could go where the brave head has gone before. And so that's what it is. The head has gone first. We have that in our mind, right? That's our hope. But we have to live our day each day. We can't walk with our eyes way out there so much, you know. It's kind of in our mind that that's where we want to go. But we live step by step, so to speak. And we live, and if we take those steps with virtues, whatever virtue is appropriate at the time, in mind, that will lead us to where we have in our mind as a hope, you know. And so, just as Jesus says to the apostles, don't worry about things that only the Father has in his mind, the times and the seasons and how everything is going to end up. You worry about your day-to-day, what I want you to do. You know? And so in a way, I think we can take that for us. Yes, we have in our mind our hope, where we want to be, and we keep that in our mind. But our day-to-day lives, let's concentrate on what it is we're called to do, what Jesus is asking us to do, and how he's asking us to do it. In other words, keep in mind that our decisions, our actions, conversations, our work, our play, whatever, we have the virtues in mind. And whatever virtue is appropriate, we concentrate on that. If we do that, God will take care of the rest.